This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We have a packed episode today covering everything from incredible survival stories to major breakthroughs in cold cases that have haunted families for decades. Let's get started.
A brave teen chews through restraints to escape a kidnapper.
A reporter tracks a pop star fugitive in a prison.
Patrick Radden-Keefe investigates a mysterious death in London.
A witness admits lying for decades in a murder trial.
A Kentucky man kills his ex-wife out of pure jealousy.
New suspects emerge in the Amy Bradley cruise disappearance.
A student drinks seltzer from a teacher's secret mug.
A man stabs his girlfriend as she moves out.
Starting in South Carolina, in a truly harrowing story out of South Carolina, two 15-year-old girls managed to survive a terrifying kidnapping thanks to the quick thinking and sheer physical determination of one of the victims. The suspect, Darius Gilmore, allegedly forced the girls into a car at gunpoint after they had traveled by Uber to his home in Columbia. According to the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office, Gilmore bound the teens with tape and drove them to a remote location while repeatedly threatening to kill them. The situation escalated when they reached a second spot, where Gilmore began physically assaulting one of the girls with his pistol. It was during this distraction that the other teen did something incredible. She chewed through the tape binding her, moved into the driver's seat of the running car, and sped away to find help.
The bravery required to chew through restraints while your friend is being attacked right next to you is almost unimaginable. As she drove off, Gilmore reportedly fired his weapon at the vehicle, but she managed to escape and alert authorities. The second teen also managed to flee on foot to a nearby residence for safety. Gilmore was eventually apprehended and now faces a litany of serious charges, including attempted murder, kidnapping, and possession of a firearm during a violent crime. Interestingly, investigators believe Gilmore wasn't acting entirely alone. They suspect he was communicating with an accomplice who was providing advice on how to handle the situation. While the girls are safe, the psychological toll of such an event is immense, and the community is left wondering how these teens ended up in that Uber with Gilmore in the first place.
Next up, we shift gears to a fascinating tale of international intrigue involving a pop star on the run. A journalist, fresh off a grueling assignment in the Congo where he tracked down a missing file clerk who became a rebel leader, found himself pulled into the search for Gloria Trevi and Sergio Andrade. Trevi, often described as the Mexican Madonna, had vanished along with her manager amid serious allegations. The reporter describes the shock of seeing their faces on an Interpol detain-on-site advisory, comparing it to seeing global icons like Jay-Z and Beyoncé on a most wanted list. The story had evolved from a simple criminal case into a bizarre vanishing act that spanned continents. Despite the high-profile nature of the fugitives, there was a strange lack of urgency from some authorities regarding the safety of the young girls who were part of their entourage.
The journalist's journey highlights the complexities of tracking celebrities who don't want to be found, especially when they have the resources to disappear into remote areas. He pitched the story to the New York Times Magazine, arguing that if he could find a clerk in the heart of darkness, he could certainly find an attention-hungry pop star. The narrative touches on the dark side of fame and the cult-like atmosphere surrounding Trevi and Andrade. There were fears that the situation could end tragically, as many cult-like groups do, in a pile of bodies. This pursuit wasn't just about a headline. It was about uncovering the truth behind a massive scandal that had captivated Latin America. The race to get inside a Brazilian prison for an interview became the ultimate goal, representing the final chapter in a long and winding road of investigative journalism.
Now let's shift to renowned investigative journalist Patrick Radden-Keefe has a new mystery on his hands, one that began with a chance encounter on a film set in London. While filming the adaptation of his book Say Nothing, Keefe heard the tragic story of Zach Bretler, a 19-year-old who died in 2019 after falling from a luxury apartment balcony overlooking the Thames. Zach had spent his final months in the company of two men who allegedly believed he was the heir to a massive Russian oligarch fortune worth £200 million. The circumstances of his death were highly suspicious. Zach wasn't suicidal, but he was clearly terrified. Despite the family's pleas, and evidence of holes in the initial investigation, like untested bloodstains and uninterviewed witnesses, the case was closed with an open verdict, leaving the parents with no answers and no path forward for justice.
Keefe, known for his deep dives into complex subjects like the Sackler family and CIA propaganda, felt he couldn't ignore this story. It sits at the intersection of the Russian oligarchy in London and a personal family tragedy. The two men with Zach on the night he died gave conflicting accounts, yet the Crown Prosecution Service decided there wasn't enough evidence to bring charges. For the Bretler family, Keefe's involvement represents a glimmer of hope that the gaps in the investigation might finally be filled. The case highlights the difficulties of seeking justice when powerful interests or murky backgrounds are involved. Keefe's ability to weave together large-scale societal issues with intimate human stories is exactly what this case needs, as the mystery of what really happened on that fifth-floor balcony continues to haunt those Zach left behind in London.
Moving on. In a dramatic courtroom moment, a witness has admitted to lying for over 20 years to protect her husband. Joyce Butler provided virtual testimony in the cold case trial of DeMaurice Hunter, a convicted serial killer accused of the 2002 strangulation of Teresa Ann Green. Green's body was found wrapped in the trunk of her own car decades ago, but the case had long remained unsolved. Joyce confessed on the stand that she had previously misled investigators about her husband Joseph's involvement. She now admits that Joseph inadvertently assisted Hunter with a vehicle on the night Green disappeared. This bombshell admission changes the landscape of the trial, as it provides a direct link between the suspect and the logistics of the crime that had been hidden by marital loyalty for more than 2 decades.
This revelation underscores the incredible challenges of cold case investigations, where the truth is often buried under years of silence and deception. Joyce Butler's decision to finally come forward after 20 years suggests a heavy burden of guilt, or perhaps a change in circumstances that made the truth more important than the secret. For the family of Teresa Ann Green, this testimony is a long-awaited step toward accountability. It also highlights how one person's lie can stall a murder investigation for a generation. As the trial of DeMaurice Hunter continues, the court must now weigh this new evidence and consider how many other secrets might still be hidden in the shadows of this 2002 murder. It's a stark reminder that in the pursuit of justice, the truth often has a way of surfacing, even if it takes 20 years to arrive.
Next story, a Kentucky man has been found guilty of a truly senseless and brutal murder. Fairleigh Napier was convicted for the killing of Joni Campbell Smith, the mother of his children and his former common-law wife. The details of the crime are disturbing. Napier reportedly told his own daughter that he killed Joni because he was simply tired of looking at her. Campbell Smith went missing in early 2024, and her charred remains were later discovered inside a burned vehicle on Napier's property. Prosecutors revealed that Napier didn't just kill her, he used a mattock to dismember and mutilate her body before setting the car on fire. Despite Napier's attempts to claim they had a casual meeting at a gas station before she disappeared, forensic evidence, including body tissue found on his logging equipment, told a much darker and more definitive story of what happened.
The motive, according to the prosecution, was rooted in extreme jealousy. Even though Napier was in a new relationship, he couldn't stand the fact that Joni had remarried and moved on with her life. This case is a tragic example of domestic violence escalating to the ultimate extreme. The impact on their children is particularly devastating, especially given that Napier confessed his callous reasoning directly to his daughter. The jury's quick verdict on charges of murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence brings some level of legal closure, but the brutality of the act has left the local community in shock. Napier's testimony, which attempted to paint a picture of a helpful ex-husband, was thoroughly dismantled by the physical evidence and the testimony of his own family members, ensuring he will face the full consequences of his actions.
Now, too, there is a major update in the disappearance of Amy Bradley, who vanished from a Royal Caribbean cruise ship back in 1998. A private investigator hired by the family, Jim Carey, has identified 2 new persons of interest, a police department clerk and a cab driver. Both individuals claim to have seen Bradley since she went missing over 25 years ago. Carey believes Bradley was taken off the ship in Curaçao by a member of a band that was performing on board. The investigation has gained new momentum following a Netflix documentary that sparked fresh leads and caused some potential witnesses to clam up out of nervousness. Carey has also been tracking IP addresses from the family's search website, which led him to a casino in Aruba, where the manager was notably uncooperative, adding more suspicion to the case.
The Bradley family has long maintained that Amy was a victim of sex trafficking, a theory that Carey says is supported by letters he found during a separate investigation into the Natalie Holloway case. These letters reportedly made reference to the girl from the cruise. While some officials originally suggested Amy might have fallen overboard or taken her own life, her brother Brad has firmly rejected those possibilities, citing her state of mind and the lack of any physical evidence in the water. The connection between the Bradley and Holloway cases is particularly intriguing, as Carey noted that many of the same names appear in both investigations. With these new leads handed over to the FBI, there is a renewed sense of hope that the mystery of what happened to the 23-year-old vacationer might finally be solved after decades of uncertainty.
Moving to Utah, in Utah, a family is outraged after their developmentally delayed daughter, Flor Perry, unknowingly drank hard seltzer from her teacher's tumbler during class. Flor, who is 21 but has the cognitive age of a 2-year-old due to a rare genetic condition, became inebriated and subsequently fell, hitting her head. The teacher, Catherine Mitoga, was allegedly sipping the alcohol secretly from a stainless steel mug while teaching at the Vista Education Center. The school district confirmed the incident and stated that Mitoga has since resigned. She was arrested and charged with possession or consumption of alcohol at a school. For Flor's parents, this is a nightmare recurring. They claim Flor was previously abused by a different teacher at another school in 2022. They are now questioning how many other incidents go unreported in the school system.
The fact that a vulnerable student who is nonverbal could be exposed to alcohol in a classroom setting is a massive breach of trust. Flor's mother, Kim, expressed the helplessness of the situation, noting that because Flor can only use limited hand signs, she couldn't explain what had happened or how much she had consumed. The Davis School District has emphasized that they have high expectations for their educators and do not tolerate alcohol on premises, but for the Perrys, these words ring hollow after a second traumatic event involving their daughter. Flor was adopted from Ecuador and has always been described as having a sweet personality, making this violation of her safety even more heartbreaking. The case has sparked a broader conversation about the supervision of staff and the protection of students with special needs in public education facilities.
Finally today, a tragic incident in Nevada has resulted in a second-degree murder conviction after a man killed his girlfriend while she was in the process of moving out. Kennedy Oriti was only 26 years old when she returned to the condo she shared with Maurice Vanderhall to pick up her final belongings and say goodbye. It was then that Vanderhall attacked her, stabbing her 20 times in the face and neck. When police arrived at the Henderson residence, they found Vanderhall covered in blood and Oriti with fatal wounds. Vanderhall admitted to the killing and told investigators he had also attempted to take his own life following the attack. He recently pleaded guilty to the charges. A family friend who was helping Oriti move that day had grown worried when she didn't return from the apartment, leading to the grim discovery.
This murder happened just 5 days before Kennedy's 27th birthday, making the loss even more poignant for her friends and family. Those who knew her described her as someone who had grown immensely and of whom they were incredibly proud. The brutality of the attack, using 3 different knives, including a butcher knife, paints a picture of a violent outburst triggered by the end of the relationship. Vanderhall is now scheduled for sentencing in May. This case serves as a somber reminder of the dangers individuals can face when trying to leave an abusive or volatile relationship. The community has rallied around Oriti's memory, sharing photos and stories of her life, while the legal system moves toward a final sentencing that will hopefully provide some measure of justice for a life taken far too soon in such a violent manner.
That's our roundup for today. Thank you for joining us for these important stories. We'll be back tomorrow with more updates. Follow us to stay informed on the latest developments.